Welcome to Less Than 15, a show for busy business owners brought to you by DFK Australia, New Zealand. Each week we deliver bite-sized, actionable insights from industry experts so you're across the issues that really matter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus. Let's dive into this week's topic. Welcome back to another episode of Less Than 15. Today we have Mitchell Brooks with us, who is a partner at DFK Hirn Newey up in Brisbane. And we're going to be digging down today into this idea of really getting friendly with tech and working out how we can have data-driven decision-making when you combine that gut feel with the realities to make better decisions about the goals that we're setting. So why is it so important for us to actually set goals? I love the way you explained this when we first spoke, to find those goals that are both ambitious but also honest. And then we can talk about how the data can actually drive and shape those. But when you're looking at those two variables together, how do they happen? Why do we need that balance?
Well, thanks very much for the introduction, Angela. I think if you fail to set goals, you're really going to fail to deliver on the results of your business. With everything that's changing in the world at the moment, with cost escalations, price pressures, not having any truly identifiable goals means you're pretty directionless in the business. And if you do succeed, it's more just by chance rather than by setting a set target and actually hitting those goals.
And there's probably different levels of goals, because I know I've got some goals in my business, but there's a big difference between holding them in your head and actually getting them down where you can see them and balancing that with what the data is that you can actually pull out from actions that are happening within the business. So where do you think are some of the common pitfalls that businesses face when they are actually setting their goals for the quarter, for the year, or whatever the time period may be? What do you see going wrong or going off the scale?
Look, I think most businesses don't actually vocalise them. They have those ideas in their head, but they might have a sales target, they've got a customer number they want to hit. They actually don't tell anyone. They don't tell their spouse, they don't tell their business partners, they don't tell their staff. Actually having a visualisation of those goals and shouting them out to everyone in their organisation goes a long way to reaching those goals, because if no one knows about it, then no one's going to strive to hit those goals. I think that's the first point.
And I'm sure there's a couple of people listening going, are you looking at me? Let's take the idea that you have downloaded the goals. You've now got them out into the open. Obviously, it's going to be different based on the industry that you're in. But do you see or feel that there are specific categories that we really should consider having goals across rather than just the big, hairy, audacious goals?
Yeah, I think it's obviously specific to your individual business and your needs, but there should be a number of goals that break up your business that are your mission critical numbers that will result in your business making more profit. So is that sales targets? Is that productivity? Is it reducing costs? Is it, expanding into new regions and growing in your current client base? It needs to be a multi-pronged approach in terms of setting your goals rather than just attacking one area, because your business in terms of profitability is made up of so many different factors, but it's identifying those really mission critical items that are going to turn your business and make it more profitable.
Yeah, because there'd be so many different areas that feed into that profit. Let it be, as you're saying, reducing costs or putting prices up or whatever, increasing the number of customers, etc. So it's a real mosaic. It's not just increase profits by X%. It's a lot more nuanced than that.
It's finding your ideal sale. So is that, for a consulting business, is that your ideal client? Is it for a product? What is your ideal sales pitch for that? And then, okay, well, if that's our ideal sale, how do we then generate more of those? And the quickest way to generate more business is finding what is that ideal client for you, and then generating your goals into finding more of those.
Yeah. Okay. So I've downloaded them. They're out of my head. I've categorized them. I've shared them. Now I have to keep track of them. So one of the things that that you have done a lot of work with your clients in your capacity is helping them harness tech, harness the cloud, harness things that make this goal tracking and adjustments easier. So could you talk to us about, I guess the concept that I have in my head is that there's some sort of dashboard in front of me where I can twirl the dials, hit the numbers and really understand where I'm at. Now, some of our listeners may have this in spades. It may be organized. Others may be less technically driven. So how can we, knowing all of the responsibilities and the time restraints and demands that are on small and medium business owners, how do we make this easier for them with tech?
So with the technology, so since cloud accounting's, sort of come from New Zealand and Australia over the last sort of 10 years, it's at your fingertips now. There is a lot of products out there that you can use to quickly get access to this information. So products like Xero, there's many different reporting products out there that plug into that source data that then allows you to plug in other information. So is it your Google results? Is it other mission critical information that you've got, say, in a spreadsheet that you can import and actually turn into a visual dashboard for you so you can actually track these goals quickly. And the benefits of these cloud accounting products is at any point in time, you can see exactly where you are in that goal setting process about where those KPIs are. So it's about making sure you clearly identify what those goals are and then come up with strategies to how you can visually represent and track those. The cloud accounting makes that process so much easier than what it was, where you're not having to sift through giant spreadsheets, huge amounts of data. You're not manually keying in, bank information and things like that, which would make that process so much slower to get access to that information. So by harnessing the technology, you can get access to your KPIs instantly.
So is this about having better questions? If I'm aware of, as you said, those mission critical areas where I need to have my finger on the pulse to see how I'm tracking with that business goal, and then it's about asking, how might I get that data? How might I display that data? What application or et cetera, is going to help me do that?
Yeah.
Because if I go into the Xero App Store, there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. So with that, it's a lot of the reporting things. It's visualization. It depends on how you like to see your data. There are some products that are very visual driven. So when you're looking at that information, it will give you lots of great graphs. Whereas there's other KPI data that's all based on data. So I guess it depends on how you like to see your information, and then you make your decision on that basis from there. So if your client's in a visual, arts industry, they're going to love to see data in a prettier, format. So you go to something like that that's going to give you great visual presentations. Whereas we've got engineers, they love data. All they want to see is the hardcore data. I think it's how you like to learn, how you want to track your KPIs. Really depends on which solution you use, because there are so many of them in the market at the moment.
And I guess there's also an understanding or a consideration for who else needs to see and access this data. So it's not just a for your eyes only, to do a James Bond moment, but to also think about how can I make this accessible to the other people who are going to have input on these decisions, on these goals, to give the feedback to your team as in how they're tracking and that type of thing. So it's almost like the democratization of data to an extent, so that people can access and see it.
And it's the questions, can you put multiple layers in that data? Some of the more basic software will just have one login for all staff. You'll be able to see everything, which a lot of business owners don't want, because obviously it's giving away private information. But if you move to those more complex reporting systems, you can generate different dashboards for your staff to help push that information out and down to them at the different levels that they need to pay attention to.
So this is a great example of where, to give us a plug here, of where speaking to your accountant or business advisor who has this type of exposure to the options that are available, and then getting them to ask the questions exactly that. I like my data displayed like this or like this. I personally, I can't stand Excel. I hate spreadsheets, right? I'm definitely one of the visual types. So making that clear, so that the way the dashboard is set up for me is because if I find it easy to interpret and utilize, I'm much more likely to use it. So could we talk for a moment about, let's think about a specific example of a client that you've worked with that was making some decisions. You've helped them set better goals by using data, and then helped them track that. So we can turn this concept into a tangible scenario.
Yeah. So Xero was our core product that we use, the cloud product, allows us to get access to the information easily. We can generate some really good basic KPI information from that product to at least start the conversation with clients, where we start looking at sales numbers, turnover, gross profit, net profit. So we can start that basic modeling of the client to see what really is the drivers in their business.
Mm-hmm.
After we get that system up and running, then we identify those key drivers, and then we say, well, how can we delve deeper into those key drivers? And then we keep putting more layers of reporting on that to say, if it's gross profit margin that is the key driver for this business, how do we differentiate that? So it's different suppliers, different products, where we go through and benchmark that. It might be pricing of specific products that are really critical to their business, because some businesses are very, high cost businesses, low turnover. So that identifying that price structure of what they're selling is so critical to their profitability.
Yep.
And so then we can generate dashboards on those particular products to make sure that they're watching out for that as they go. With other businesses, sometimes it's all based on the customer sales numbers. So, increasing what we call basket size. So making sure that when you do have a sale with a customer, that all of your staff are selling as much as possible, and making sure that that's benchmarked. So that's when we go into those really, niche reporting on individual staff members to make sure that they're hitting their sales targets. And then it allows our business owners to have those conversations with their staff and, actually have the data there to go, well, you're missing this sale here. Another staff member is really good at the add-on sales. So how can we leverage what they do and teach that to the entire team?
I love that positive slant there as well, because data can reveal training opportunities.
And it's not about just, it's not about wrapping people over the knuckle. It's about finding those opportunities to go, this one staff member is just excelling in this area. So how do we give them more of that work to help them, grow the business? Or how do we get them to teach the other people within your business to upskill them?
So it sounds as though what we're doing is we're starting up with those real, I think of it as almost like a goal cascade, because you're starting with those really high level goals. And then as you're digging deeper, understanding those key drivers, you're really then getting quite granular in terms of what's relevant for each business.
That's right, because over time, obviously, you can kick your really easy goals. If it's just you want to hit a net sales target, sometimes that can be really easy to hit within a short period of time. But we all need to keep our businesses growing, because we've got CPI costs, wages pressures. We really need to keep growing, and to keep that accelerated growth, you need to get into the the nitty gritty of the business. Just hitting a overall sales target is not going to turn into profit after a year or two. You're just going to find yourself sort of stagnating and wondering where did it go.
Yeah, then you need to have almost like a crystal ball and good, robust reporting that can be updated as you're going, maybe on a weekly basis or whatever the case may be. I don't have to dig. I push the button and there it is. Because of the connections that have happened through the cloud and the apps, I can get that in real time data, which is so incredibly important.
And it's trying to catch those trends in your business before they come an issue. So, if stuff is changing in your business, you're wanting to try to track those other trends that you may not be aware of before they come an issue.
Perfect. Well, as we're wrapping up here, Mitchell, I would say that a key action to take now is for anyone listening on this particular episode is to understand and pinpoint those drivers. What are those mission critical drivers? Speak to your accountant or business advisor, and then start creating or tweaking the dashboard that you currently have, so that you can make more just in time rather than just in case decisions. Does that feel true?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about trying to get ahead of the curve and have all that information at hand, rather than only speaking to your accountant at the end of the financial year. By then, the horse is bolted. It's trying to get in front of the decisions, because if you're only doing that at the end of the year, it's too late. The money's, you spent the money, you've lost the sales, you can't make that back up.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Angela.
And thank you for listening or tuning in and watching today. Hopefully some action points have got you thinking there is things that I can change so that I can set goals and respond to what's happening in real time. We look forward to bringing you another snappy episode next week. Until then, take care. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Less Than 15 and have a fresh idea or two to take action on. Hit the subscribe button so you catch every bite-sized business bulletin. And we'd love you to leave a review or perhaps share the episode with a friend. Less Than 15 is brought to you by accountants and business advisors DFK Australia New Zealand, helping business owners make better decisions through local knowledge, national connections, and global reach. We'll be back next week with more valuable insights to help you and your business grow.